And a lot of us talk about the sunshine and rainbow story because that's what people want to hear. People like the rags to riches story. People like to hear about people that have overcome a whole lot and now they're sitting on top of the hill. That's a beautiful story. And it happens often. But also, the other side of what happens is people fail more often than they do succeed. So we need to understand, I believe, one of the questions that I would be asking is, why are these people not making it? What is it that's standing in their way? Because they aspire to be successful. They want a business that they can call their own. They want a business that they can possibly hand down to their children, or to their loved ones. So why is it not happening for them? And what I want you to know is not all about hard work. It's not all about effort. That's a part of it. But that's not, everything. It's not just about, if you work hard, if you put in a lot of effort, you're going to succeed. No, it doesn't work that way. You can work to your fingers down to the bone. But if you're working on the wrong thing, if you have your ladder leaning against the wrong wall, it's not going to work out for you, right? So we got to make sure that we're working on the right things. We got to understand how to manage a business. And most of us don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to call you out by saying that. Most of us don't know how to own and operate a business. I often hear the term hustle when it comes down to business ownership. And although hustling is a part of it, it's a very small part of it, right? It just comes with the territory. You got to put in work. You got to put in effort. But to make it about a hustle, I think, is taken away from what business really is. It's way more to it than that. It's way more complex than just hustling, right? And I want to try and share some of that with you today, what you need to be aware of. When you have a business, it's like you have your own little fort, right? And if you have something that's valuable within that fort, don't think that the enemies are not going to come after it. That's just how that works. That's the world that we live in. And in the business world, the enemies, or the adversary, I would say, is competitors, right? There's other people that's competing for the same market share that you're competing for. They're doing some things that you're not doing. They're better than you in areas, right? Their marketing is better than yours. Their advertising is better than yours, right? Their sales process is better than yours. So they are capturing a larger market share than you are. So those competitors are people that you have to learn from. How they do business, how they sell products and services, how they sell freight brokerage services. You have to learn from that so that you can take something from their journey, apply it to what it is that you're doing, so you can get down the road faster, so you can catch up or make up some of the distance between you and the competition. Because what that involves, or what that entails, you making up that distance, is you're making up market share. You're capturing more and more market share. And that, of course, allows for you to make more money. So we have to learn from the competition. Right? Competitors are not an enemy that you're going after and you're trying to kill them, right? But you are trying to take more and more of their business. This is how it works. That might sound harsh, but that is the reality of business owners. I'm trying to capture more and more market share, and if a competitor has it, I want it. That's just how that goes. And I have to do things in order to position myself and my business to capture it, to take more of it, right? So number one is competition. Understanding the competition. It's a mistake to ignore the competition, to not understand what it is that they're doing. And a lot of times we make that mistake as new business owners. Sometimes we're paying attention, but we're not learning from the competition. So pay attention and learn from competition. All right? Second thing that I want to talk about, another enemy that you need to be aware of is, or an adversary, I should say, is the federal government and the state. These are the tax authorities. These are authorities that are taking more and more of your money, right? They always want more. How much you want? More, right? So they want to capture more and more of your profits, and you as a business owner have to defend your fort. You got to defend your empire from the government and the state, right? You got to make sure that you are paying less and less taxes. Why is that? Why do you want to pay less taxes? Because paying less taxes mean you put more money in your pocket, right? That's what paying less taxes mean. Do you think that the government can do better with your money than you can? Of course you don't. So you want to keep more of your money in your pocket, and a part of that is making sure that you understand the tax code, or you have somebody on your team that understands it, how it works. You need to have a limited knowledge, so when you're talking to those that do have an understanding of how it works, when they're explaining it, you can grasp it, right? So you need to have a limited knowledge yourself, but you're probably going to hire some people on your team that can help you manage taxes, help you manage that attack that comes from the government and the state. Now, the next enemy that I want you to be aware of, and this is an enemy that we really have to pay attention to because it can definitely turn us on our heads faster than anything else, and that is the time thief. This is a big time thief. This remote control. We sit down with these remote controls and watch TV. And every minute, every hour that's spent on watching TV is time taken away from you working on your business, right? Don't get me wrong. You need to have some leisure time. You need to have some time where you sit back and relax. But we have to learn how to watch TV, right? If you've decided to say, hey, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to relax from this time to this time watching TV, that's okay. You've put that time in your schedule and you say, hey, I've allocated this time to do this and I'm going to sit back and enjoy. Nothing wrong with that. But after that time is up, you got to move on to something else. You got to get back to work. Don't just take this remote and start going through the guide saying, oh, let me see what's on TV. Because you'll always find something to steal your time. If there's anything that you need to be aware of more than anything else, it's the time thieves. Because they are definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, robbing you of the success that you want in your business. Deal with the time thieves and deal with them right now. Family and friends. And let's get this understood right away. I'm not saying that your family and friends are your enemy necessarily, but they could end up being the enemy to the success of the business, right? Because we know that family and friends tend to pull us in directions sometimes that we really can't afford to be pulled in. We really can't give our time to the things that they want us to. And because we sometimes go ahead and go along with the plan, even when we can't afford to, it starts to take more and more of your time away from what you are doing, your main thing, right? And anything that taking away time from your main thing ends up being an enemy of your business. So we have to make sure that we put our family and friends in the proper perspective and make sure that they understand that we have responsibilities. We have a major responsibility in operating a business. And the reason why I think that needs to be explained is because families sometimes look at a person that works from home and they say, oh, okay, he has the time. Or maybe he's not doing much today because he's working from home, right? But the reality of it is that I work from home, but my day probably starts earlier than most people and finishes later than most people, right? So I really don't have the time to be pulled in that direction. So some things you have to learn to say no to. And sometimes that's friends and family. Lifestyle. Lifestyle has a way of impacting your business because you expect the business to fund your lifestyle. You expect that the business is going to make enough money so that you can live the lifestyle that you want to live. And that's cool. Nothing wrong with that, except In business, you're going to have some good times and you're going to have some bad times. And revenue is not always consistent. It fluctuates. So what happens when you start having consecutive bad months and you have an inflated lifestyle? Well, you know what happens. You start to lose some of those things that you went out and got when money was good. So it just makes sense to live a lifestyle that's not outside of your means. When you are a good business manager, you got to manage a business successfully. You understand that you cannot allow for your lifestyle to get out of control. You got to keep everything within the proper perspective. You got to make sure that you understand what it costs for you to run your home, right? What it costs for you to run your business, how much money you're making, what's the surplus, right? And how are you going to utilize the surplus so that you can make more and more dollars? Because that's the signs of a good business manager. Not that he has an inflated lifestyle, not that he has a big car or a big house. It's about how well he manages the business so that he can have prolonged success in business and his life. Not about what kind of car you drive, right? Not about what type of jewelry you're wearing. It's about whether or not you can manage a successful business. And good business owners know that they have to keep lifestyle under control. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? Because a lot of times we're not doing things because it's something that we just want to do, like it's just something I have to have. We do things because others expect us to do it, or they expect us to have it a lot of times, right? I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. You see, I have been living in my same home since 2006, right? And this home is what some people would say is dated. When you look at my cabinets, they are wood cabinets, and I've had them since 2006, right? So wood cabinets are not the thing anymore, right? Now when you walk into homes, you see these white, beautiful cabinets. And I admit, they look nice, right? People change out their countertops, change out the flooring in their homes and things like that. But me, I don't see any need for that. So if I went and did that, I would be doing that just to satisfy some idea that, oh, I need to be up to date in my home as far as my kitchen is concerned. No, I don't need that. That's not something that is important to me at all. So why would I go out and spend $20,000 or $30,000 on remodeling a kitchen when it's not important to me, right? So I think the question that we should ask when it comes to lifestyle is, am I doing this for me? Is this really something that's important to me? Is this something that I really want? Right? I didn't say necessarily need, because everything is not based on need. Is this something that I want? Right? Because a lot of times we can buy things because other people think we should have it. If you're a certain type of person, if you're a business owner, you should have this type of house or this type of car. Nah, you should know how to manage a business successfully. You should know how to grow your revenue in your company. That's what's important. Growing, not necessarily going out and buying things and being the type of person that's just so, what would I call it? Consumption driven. But now the biggest enemy of your success is the person that you see in the mirror every morning. It's you. There's no two ways about that. You're gonna do everything, but you don't do much of anything. You put off and put off and put off things to the last minute, and then it's a scramble for you to get it done. You talk about what you're gonna do. You talk, but when it comes down to taking action to get things done, you haven't mastered that yet. As a matter of fact, you're not good at it, let alone mastering it. That's what has to change. You have to get out of your own way. You got to start delivering on your word. You have to start being who you say you are. And a lot of us say that we're different, but if you're different, you got to start doing things differently. And the one thing that the successful people do that successful people or unsuccessful people don't is that they mind their business. Successful people mind their business. They put their mind on their business and they make it happen. When are you going to start doing that? When are you going to start believing in yourself? When are you going to have the confidence that you can do it too? Right? When are you really going to throw caution to the wind and say, you know what? I'm going to give it everything that I got. When you start doing that, you'll start seeing things happen more like you want them to happen. You'll start, realizing some of that success that you want to achieve. When you start giving it everything that you have. And, of course, you have your ladder leaning against the right wall. You're working on the right things. How do you manage a business? We talked about that earlier, but we didn't give an answer to it. So I'm going to give you an answer to that. How do you manage a business? First of all, you have to manage yourself. You have to manage your own emotions. You have to get out of your own way. And then you have to focus on a few things. Customer acquisition. How do you get a customer? What is the process? Then we have to take a look at our sales process. How do you sell to your customer? What's that process look like? How streamlined is that process? And then we have to take a look at your after sales management skills. How well do you manage the customer after you've sold them something? Because a lot of people get lost when they sell something, right? How do you manage your customer after you've sold them brokerage services? How do you manage during that sale? How do you manage the process? When you're moving a load from point A to point B, what can they expect? So the operations, right? So we got number one, starting out, customer acquisition process, the sales process, the after sales management or the operations process. And then we have to make sure that the financial management part is taken care of. And that's where we have to spend more time learning about. See, we don't come into it with all of the skills. We learn those skills as we go. Learn by putting yourself in the fire and figuring things out. Don't forget, if you want your Millionaires Think Differently t-shirt or your sweatshirt, make sure you go to the description box. I'm going to leave a link in there and you'll be able to get your Millionaires Think Different. Because that's what it's about. You are in your own way. You are your own greatest enemy. Who are you? You are your mind. You are the way that you see things. You are your own perspective. You are your own ideology. And sometimes that perspective, that ideology needs to change in order for us to get a different result. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. Until the next time, see you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.